How's it going, everybody? Ryan Devlin here. Happy to be back on the Jazz Lesson Videos channel. A common challenge with players as they progress is the integration of fundamental language and modern concepts. There's an abundance of information on what modern concepts are and a ton of exercises on how to practice them, and it can be very overwhelming. And a lot of people don't know how to combine these modern techniques with things that they're learning about the foundational language of this music. It can be really overwhelming hearing how to practice chromatic cells, intervallic shifting, pentatonic shifting, chord substitutions. So today, we're gonna address a really straightforward and effective formula to enable the application of modern concepts to traditional harmonic phrases. All these concepts and lines that we're gonna discuss today are available in my resource, 100 Modern Bebop Phrases. This resource contains 100 lines in all 12 keys, accompanied by recordings and backing tracks to go alongside with each of them. If you're interested in downloading this material, you can click the link in our description below and use the code ModernBebop5 for $5 off your purchase. Let's jump into the first concept. So the first line that we're going to look at combines a traditional harmonic foundational phrase with some chromatic cells over a 2-5-1 progression. Let's take a listen to this line. So as you can hear, the first two bars of our 2-5-1 here, I'm using a combination of a lot of chromatic cells in 16th notes. Let's analyze some of these cells. So on our minor chord, we have E, G, F sharp, E, kind of a diatonic cell in E minor. And then we do a cell F, E, E flat, F. That would be an F7 cell. Then G flat, A flat, G natural, F. It's kind of like a chromatic cell in maybe G flat or F sharp. Then G flat, F, E, D. So that's a diatonic cell in like D major. Then E flat F, B flat F, E flat major or E flat 7. A flat, B flat, B natural or C flat, E flat. That's an A flat minor phrase. Then F, E flat, B or C flat, A flat, B flat, A flat, G flat, F. So in that entire measure of G7, I'm thinking about A flat, the tonality of A flat minor, A flat dominant, really A flat minor because that B natural in there. And that's because that's the tonality of the altered scale. The altered scale is when you play the melodic minor scale up a half step from whatever dominant chord you're playing on. So in this case, A flat melodic minor over top of G7. And I'm playing cells around that tonality. And then when I get to our C major chord, our 1 chord, I play a traditional Charlie Parker bebop phrase. Arpeggiating from the 3rd, targeting the major 7, arpeggiating off the major 7 and playing to the top major 7, chromatically down to the 5th. I can't tell you how many Charlie Parker solos I've transcribed, and that line is in there. Very iconic. So we're attaching 2 bars of chromatic cells and then a bar of a traditional jazz harmony phrase. This is a great technique on practicing modern concepts fused with bebop. This is going to be the theme of this video. You're going to see half the line of modern phrase, half the line of a traditional phrase. And you can flip and flop the way that you do this. So in other examples in my resource, on the 2, we play a traditional harmonic phrase, and then on the 5, we alter, and then we resolve. Sometimes we play the 2 and the 5 traditionally, and then add the concept on the 1. It's really good to split these things up in different amounts of measures. So practicing chromatic cells with your scales and as a technique exercise is great. Check out this chromatic cell exercise I'm gonna play just going off of the C major scale. I'm gonna play 1, major 7, flat 7, 1, and go up the C major scale. Take a listen. So after practicing that with a metronome nice and evenly for a couple days, I feel confident enough to play that cell now over a 2-5 like I have here in this example, and then I can target a resolution phrase or a traditional phrase like I have here with this Charlie Parker phrase. So this is the way that I build these. I take parts of chromatic cells or any modern technique, and then I move to a traditional phrase. Let's take a look at our second concept, adding large intervals with a traditional harmonic phrase. Let's take a listen to our line over a 3-6-2-5. So here, the theme at the beginning of this line was fourths. A to D, D to B, B to E, that's a fifth, but a third or larger was the theme. Then F sharp to B, A flat to D flat, large intervals. And then on our 2-5 back to 1, I'm playing, again, that altered scale technique, playing the tonality of A flat melodic minor, resolving to C. So B flat, A flat, E flat, B natural, B flat, A flat, G, F, E. That's more of a traditional kind of way of getting back home. There's a famous lick called Cry Me a River. I remember this is one of the first lines that I learned in all 12 keys when I was first learning this music. So that's the traditional part. The beginning on the 3 and the 6 is large intervals being played. A good way to practice this is to play diatonic large intervals on your major scales. Check out me playing diatonic fourths over C major. So you can practice these in your major scales, do it in all 12 keys, get really flexible with them, and then repeat the same process that we did with our chromatic cells. Half of your phrase is going to be on the modern technique, the other half is going to be targeting a traditional harmonic phrase, just like here with my Cry Me a River lick. Let's move on to concept number 3 now. All right, so for topic number 3, we're going to be talking about modern chord substitutions alongside with some traditional harmonic phrases. We're going to look at 2 different phrases. The first one is going to be a tritone substitution, and the second one is going to be another altered scale substitution. So let's take a listen to our first one. So our traditional phrase, there's 2 of them, is off the major 7, ba-da-ba-da-bee-boo-doo-boo-ba, right? So C sharp, D, F, A, C natural, A, F natural, D. So right up and down the arpeggio of the D minor chord. Then we have more of a modern chord substitution with a tritone sub, and we're playing a chromatic cell on a tritone sub, C sharp, C, B, E flat, B flat. So we're playing basically right around the 6th of our tritone substitution. In this case would be D flat 7. And then we have a little non-diatonic enclosure or chromatic enclosure, A flat, G natural, and then play down the arpeggio of C. So traditional phrase at the beginning, traditional chromatic cell being played as the tritone sub, but the tritone sub itself is the more modern chord substitution that then resolves to our C major chord. Let's take a listen to our second example. So the traditional phrase here is ba-ba-da-ba-dee-da. Heard in a lot of earlier bebop recordings and such. So we're taking that ba-ba-da-ba-dee-da in the first measure, which is on our 3 and 6 inside of the chord. Then we play the same phrase, ba-ba-da-ba-bee-da-da-ba-da, starting on E flat on our D minor chord. Again, we're substituting the D minor and G7 with our altered scale, which is A flat melodic minor. So I'm playing the same traditional shape, now in the harmonic style of the more modern substitution, which would be going up that half step and playing a melodic minor. And then we resolve to the 5 of our 1 chord and play a traditional bebop enclosure phrase back to our root. G, F, D, D sharp, E, targeting the 3rd, and then A sharp, B, D, C, targeting the root. So I'm sure you're sensing a theme with all these topics. Portions of the phrases are going to be modern, portions are going to be traditional. Sometimes we can transition from the traditional phrase and keep the phrase going, but change it harmonically to be a little bit more modern, which is what we're doing here with these chord substitutions. It's a really cool way of fusing these 2 concepts together. Let's move on to our 4th and final concept. This modern concept is melodic cells. Let's take a listen to our phrase. So this phrase I got from Dexter Gordon. He plays this melodic minor phrase on a lot of different chords. It fits really well on this C minor 7 chord. So the first half of our phrase is that Dexter Gordon traditional phrase. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-doo-ba-dee-boo-dee. And then we go into some melodic cells inside and outside of our key. So F, G flat, A, sort of inside, right? F, F sharp, B, G sharp, we're targeting a major 3rd down, G sharp or A flat. G sharp, E, E flat, D, D flat, targeting up a half step, definitely a modern substitution. D flat, E flat, F, A natural, D, B flat, G, E flat, F, B flat, G, E flat, C, getting back into our tonality of C minor. So the modern section of this line is targeting G sharp with that chromatic cell, with the F sharp, B, G sharp, and then targeting D flat with that chromatic cell. So Dexter Gordon line kind of starts us off with that traditional melodic minor over our minor chord, and then we go into more of the modern substitution melodic cells targeting notes outside of our chord, and then we come back home at the end of the phrase. So a great way to practice this is to practice melodic cells, which are inside of our key center, in our scales, just like I talked about with chromatic cells. Here's an example of me playing some melodic cells in my C major scale. So you take those, put those 2 different keys on your horn, and get comfortable enough, like your chromatic cells, to be able to improvise with them inside and outside of our key. So the modern part of this phrase is that we're targeting notes outside of C minor. So we start with the Dexter Gordon phrase to give us context of the harmony, go outside and play those melodic scales that we just practiced with our major scale outside of the tonality, and then we come back home at the end of the phrase. All right, everyone, that concludes today's video. I really hope you found it helpful. And again, if you want to dive a lot deeper into these concepts, you can download my 100 Modern Bebop Phrases resource with jazz lesson videos in the description below. And remember to use the code MODERN5 for $5 off your purchase. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you're notified when we post a new video, and we'll see you in the next one. Happy shedding.